Welcome everyone to the Wrestling with Regret post-show review show of WWE Hell in a Cell. The pay-per-view just wrapped up. Very interesting developments that just happened as we wrap things up, making things very interesting as we go into Survivor Series. We're gonna see how that all plays out, but for right now, we're just gonna talk about what happened at tonight's pay-per-view. I'm Brian Zane. Of course, now you might notice no one here by my side tonight. Jay Biggs is usually the one who accompanies me on these pay-per-view post-show reviews, but he couldn't make it tonight, and so hopefully he'll be back for Survivor Series. But anyway, it's gonna be me, just me tonight, and maybe I'll make it a shorter review. We'll see. Be sure to comment and chime in on the chat room. While this is going on, if you'd like, I'll do my best to look at that while it's happening and comment if there's any interesting comments in the chat feed. A lot of people already have some kind of varied reactions to what happened at the end of the main event. We'll talk about that later, but let's start right now with the pre-show, the six-man tag team match. It was Neville, Dolph Ziggler, and Cesaro versus Rusev, King, Barrett, and Sheamus. I think this match really encapsulated the spirit of what is wrong with WWE booking right now on a couple of different levels. Because first of all, you had these guys just wrestle last week. It was the exact same match, and that match ended clean with the heels winning. That was on Raw. So why have this rematch in the pre-show less than a week later for Hell in a Cell? I thought that was a little short-sighted, a little silly, a little lazy booking if you're going to do that. Basically, the purpose of this was just to trade wins. The heels won last time, so now the faces got to win. So that's what happened. So I think, and another issue with this match that I had is the fact that not only is it just a carbon copy of what happened last week, but also all six of these guys are really excellent mid-card talent. One of them is actually holding the Money in the Bank briefcase as we speak, and they're on the pre-show. So that is kind of disappointing to see that these guys who are they make up the lifeblood of the mid-card right now, they are just kind of shunted off to the pre-show. I didn't agree with that at all. But you got the one perk to this, I have to say, is at least Dolph Ziggler and Rusev aren't fighting over Lana anymore. At least that storyline's kind of dead in the dirt. I'm trying to, what are my notes here? I got all my notes here, so forgive me if I look down at this and consult the notepad as we go through the review here. The crowd, I noticed, can't count the number of revolutions in Cesaro's swing properly. I think they're just counting whatever the beat is. They're not doing full revolutions. That's just something I kind of observed. I was curious to see what the Stardust dynamic, Stardust and the Ascension being out there in the crowd to watch the match. I'm interested to see where that's going to head out. I think the one thing you take away from this match is that Cesaro was clearly booked to look very strong in this match. And he was easily the strongest person in the match, especially from the hot tag on. So, whether that's an indication of how he's going to be fared, how he's going to be viewed from here on out, I don't know if that's going to affect anything because the booking strategies with WWE change from week to week. But again, it was a solid opener for the pre-show. What can you say about that? Let's move on to what everyone else is talking about in the chat section right now. The official opener to Hell in a Cell, the U.S. Championship match. John Cena defending the title against Alberto Del Rio. That was a big surprise, big shock. He's still the AAA mega champion, as people have already pointed out in the chat room. And it's really a big surprise. But when you consider, the rumors have been saying that Del Rio has been in talks with the company. The WWE has reached out to him over the last couple of weeks to return. It was announced that he wouldn't be coming back for season 2 of Lucha Underground. So, the signs were there. There was all these pieces coming into place and the stars aligned. And then you have Del Rio coming out to answer the open challenge, which was a huge shock. When Zeb Coulter came out, though, I had a sinking feeling that it was just going to be this random throwaway match with Jack Swagger coming out, which would have been super disappointing. So I was really glad that it was Del Rio coming out. Also, Del Rio coming out continues the company's grand tradition of making the video game roster woefully out of date just days before it comes out. So that's another thing I noticed, because I'm sure there's going to be ADR downloads in the community section for Creator Wrestler, but it's just not going to be the same, And I was confused as well, Wayne Palmer, as to why Zeb was in a Rascal scooter. I think it was to play on the fact that the way he was written out several months ago was he was injured. So I was confused about it too. I thought it was just supposed to be kind of a I don't know what you'd say. I guess it was supposed to be a representation or symbolic of the average overweight, lazy American in their rascal scooters today, because Ed Coulter is America. Why they are combining Del Rio and Coulter, I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go, considering their history, but maybe it'll turn out okay. I don't know. It was, the match itself was decent. It wasn't the same level of like epic match on the level of what Cena did with Kevin Owens and what he's done with Cesaro and what he's done with Rollins and people like that. But it was a fine match. I think the bigger issue, the bigger story was that Del Rio won. He came back after being gone for a couple of years. It feels like a couple of years. I don't know exactly how long it's been, and he won. So, yeah, it was a very good way to start off the pay-per-view. I've never been a huge fan of Del Rio, especially when he was a face in WWE. So I'm really curious to see where it goes from here. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with his AAA status, considering he's now, to my knowledge, the first and only person to wear gold in AAA and in WWE simultaneously. And again, this is a good way to write Cena off for the month and a half or so he's going to be gone. I just hope they don't give the title back to him right away. Moving on to the Hell in a Cell match, Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt. I think it was, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was very physical. I thought it was, it was these two guys, these two young guys in the company, and they're really showing what they've got. It's the culmination to a feud that I think has been kind of misguided. It's kind of sputtered at times. I kind of wish it ended sooner. They kind of dragged it on for this Hell in a Cell match. So glad they wrapped it up here. I did notice during the match, during the Hell in a Cell, that I guess they had it at the last Hell in a Cell too, that they had these very visible holes on the side of the cells, the left and right sides of the cells for climbing it. I didn't know if that's going to be foreshadowing for the main event, or are they going to do that in this match or what. It just really distracted me every time the cell got brought out. So that was something I noticed that kind of stuck with me, and that just kind of stuck in my craw. There were a lot of impressive big spots. Reigns going through the table, the avalanche into the wall, the powerbomb through the table. I was kind of surprised that he kicked out so soon. I'm surprised they went right to the cover and that he kicked out. That kind of took the piss out of that spot, especially when you consider just last week they had the Dudleys put Xavier Woods through a table, very similar spot, and he was dead. He was clinically dead. But it was a good match between two guys who know how to really lay into each other, go hell for leather, so to speak. Bray sitting and poking Reigns with the stick, I thought was pretty funny. The chair and the kendo sticks being kind of stabbed into the side of the cell, those are pretty unique spots. I don't think I've ever seen that before. The one thing I thought was really funny that kind of took me out of it for a second was in the seconds leading up to Roman Reigns spearing Bray Wyatt off the apron into the table. You see the camera just go right down to the table. Like, I don't think they've ever done it before where they telegraph there's the table there. Usually it's one of those spots where it's they go to it and, oh, the table's there. Who would have guessed? What a shock. So it's very weird they kind of telegraphed that, like, oh, well, now you see what's going to happen. That took me out of it for a second. I thought Roman Reigns' little spinning counter out of the Sister Abigail earlier was a cool little spot. But yeah, I mean, again, I can just kind of go on and nitpick about these different little things here and there. I think it was a fine match. It was a great way to end the feud. Hopefully, Roman Reigns can go on to something big. The crowd really was hot for Reigns. I think Roman Reigns can do what he's doing in the ring. He's a great worker at this point. I think he's doing just fine in the system. Just don't talk. Just don't put him in a position to talk and cut lengthy promos, or at least let him be himself. Don't script him. Don't overthink his promos. And I think he'll be fine, because right now what he's doing in the ring strictly is working. It's his talking ability that sucks, and they really have to just take that down a notch and just kind of let him go off the cuff, or just have him not speak at all. I'm one of those people who don't think that a strong silent assassin character, a quiet badass, that's not going to be a main event caliber talent in WWE. There aren't too many in the history of WWE, at least, where a strong silent type has been a consistent main eventer, consistent face of the company. He needs to talk, but he just needs to get rid of the script. So that's my take on Roman Reigns. Let me know what you think of Roman Reigns, and if you think he's progressed, and if you think that what he's doing, let me know what you think he's doing and how he's doing. And let me know in the comment section, in the chat section. Let's move on to the Tag Team Championship match. It was the New Day versus the Dudley Boyz. I want to say I'm kind of surprised that the Dudleys didn't win the belts at the Madison Square Garden show a few weeks ago, the WWE Network exclusive thing. It was basically a glorified house show is all that thing was. But in order to make it more special, I think they could have had the Dudleys win the belts or at least do some kind of weird dusty finish. I feel the fact that Woods has been, you know, constantly causing the DQ finishes. So I just don't think it's. I think that it's been a little repetitive in this build in their 2-month feud now, and I think that having them win the titles at Madison Square Garden would have made it a little more interesting, or some other kind of wacky finish where you thought they had the belts. So that also made me surprised that they again didn't win tonight. It wasn't by DQ, but it was through chicanery. I think you know. Let me reiterate: the New Day is a great act. It's the biggest act right now in the company. It's the hottest act. Let's not mince words. And I get why Xavier Woods was written off of the show because he was powerbombed to death by the Dudleys on Raw. But I think the act needs Xavier Woods to really gel and really be complete. The pre-match promo with Big E and Kofi, I thought was still funny. I thought they were really good, the two of them. But I think Xavier Woods really makes it. It makes it more whole and complete, obviously. I think it really adds that. It really adds the step up. I think when you see Kofi and Big E by themselves, it really stands out to you that Xavier Woods is the star of the New Day. Whether that's going to translate into him being like the breakout star, of fun comedy spots, which is what the New Day are really good at, and the Dudleys, for all the times they can be super serious and ultra violent, they can also be really funny. And this was an example of the latter of that. Bubba Ray doing the Kamala belly thing in response to what Big E said. I thought that had me laughing pretty hard. Also, I noticed there was at least one there's at least one moment in this match that's going to end up in the next Botchamania. It was the double team move where Bubba Ray had Kofi in the pendulum backbreaker position, and Devon was going for the leg drop, and they screwed up their positioning, and then Devon hits the leg, and then Kofi Kingston just kind of collapses. It was just a really awkward spot, and I think that's going to show up in the next Botchamania video. So if Matthew Gregg has not seen that yet, there's your heads up. Kofi with the Wonder Kid Alex Wright dance, I thought kind of was the cherry on top. At the end of that match. So again, fine match. Don't know where they're going to go with it. I don't know if the Dudleys are going to be feuding with them going on to it, or if they're just going to float on the next tag team or whatever. I mean, right now the tag team scene seems to be just those two teams because everyone else is just kind of like faded off into obscurity, like Lucha Dragons and the Ascension. There was Stardust, so I don't really know what's going to happen with that. The primetime players of what I don't know, and the Matadors, you can take them or leave them. Let's go on to the Divas Championship match. Charlotte and Nikki Bella. I'm sure the smart marks watching this show were seething with rage that the promo package leading into this, the first thing you see is AJ Lee getting beaten by Nikki Bella. I'm sure that was caused the rage of 1,000 angry internet nerds. No offense to internet nerds out there. Lord knows I'm one of them. I was wondering, I'm curious if Charlotte broke her nose, because partway through the match, you see the blood on the bridge of the nose, and so that made me wonder that, or I wonder maybe if her jewels that were on the side of her face just got misplaced and put on her nose instead. I didn't like the setup. I liked that for a brief moment the match went out into the crowd. That's like the first time I've seen a Divas match that actually did that. But the part where Charlotte was getting in there, she was kind of in this awkward wheelbarrow tripod position, waiting for Nikki Bella to hit her in the leg. She was there for way too long. I think that was kind of like exposes the business, so to speak. Moving on, I think it was a physical, competitive match. I know the last month when I complained about why I don't get all the hate for Nikki Bella, I mean, I got why people hated her, but I didn't think I thought it was for really superfluous reasons. A lot of people say, well, the reason I don't like Nikki Bella is because she doesn't wrestle well, as if that means anything in WWE, where, again, WWE wrestling is not a meritocracy. It's very petty and it's very subjective. So I don't understand why you think that's an issue when Hulk Hogan couldn't really wrestle and he was the biggest star in the 80s. So but I think this match kind of proved that wrong. I don't get the arguments that Nikki Bella cannot currently wrestle. Sure, she was bad before. I don't think she's Sasha Banks, but again, she's not Eva Marie either. And I think this match she did fine. I think she was very good in the role of heel. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that top rope counter spot they did where it was supposed to be the German into the backflip. Nikki looks like got wrecked in that spot. So kudos to her for continuing on with it after that weird looking thing. But yeah, again, it was a fine match, and Charlotte winning, good on that. And also very interesting foreshadowing at the end of the match when, Paige, I don't know what the hell's going on with Paige and the on again, off again thing with Becky Lynch and Charlotte. That's super weird. And where Natalya fit in with all that, that seemed to come and go, really weird. Didn't get that. But I see what they're doing with this. The two of them came out, and then Paige was just so blatantly kind of putting herself in between Charlotte and Becky Lynch. She was trying to keep her out of it. So very obvious, but it was foreshadowing for where this is going to go. Who knows where it's going to go. But again, good on Charlotte for retaining the title. Couple of notes. They were promoting after this match. They promoted Survivor Series the next month, saying 25 years of The Undertaker. My first thought was, well, gosh, is Undertaker going to be at the show if they're going to celebrate him? The main event kind of helped possibly answer that question, so I'll go to that later. But that was my first remark. Also, Max Landis, Mr. Wrestling Isn't Wrestling, made a cameo during the spots where they were showing all the celebrities at ringside. And no, let me stop for a second because I don't keep skipping the winners. This guy's saying, Brian keeps on skipping the winners. No, I'm saying it. You're just not paying attention to me. Okay, before you spoil it for everyone, let me just say here. Neville, Ziggler, and Cesaro won. Then Alberto Del Rio won. Then Roman Reigns won. Then the New Day won. Then Charlotte won. I hope I make everyone happy. I hope I was clear enough when you said that. So Samuel Kaltenbach, thank you very much, but you can slow your roll right there. So move on to the WWE Championship match. Seth Rollins versus Kane. I've been missing Raw. I've been watching some of the highlights, and I've been reading the results. So I guess I haven't really absorbed the inanity of it, the insanity of it, the fact that they keep going Demon Kane, Corporate Kane, Demon Kane, Corporate Kane. I thought that was it's just so annoying to hear them say that. I wanted one of the announcers to slip and call him Danky Kang on accident, just to see what would happen. Because I mean, I get why you're doing it. You're gonna make the distinction. I just think it's silly. I think they're acting as if they're two different people, but just call him Kane in the ring. That's all I ask. Rollins is able to work circles around Kane, and he worked his ass off to make Kane look good. Kane still did his part. I think he looked fine. I mean, I've been saying before on this show that he is slower than he was. I didn't see anything too egregious in terms of botches. I thought the match was fine, and I think one thing I thought was interesting was Seth Rollins breaking out the frog splash, and then Michael Cole making a mention saying, "Oh, there's been a lot of tributes to Eddie Guerrero tonight." I don't think I caught any other tributes to Eddie Guerrero during this show. If anyone saw any other Eddie references to that, post in the comment section. Let me know in case I missed anything, because I didn't catch any other Eddie references except for what Seth Rollins did. The Japanese table spot, I'm sure that was supposed to actually break, but it just sat there and just kind of flopped down while Kane took the hit. That was a funny spot. The crowd helped make me care about this match, because really I didn't, because I thought it was kind of a foregone conclusion. But I mean, again, LA was more or less a hot crowd tonight, and they made this match more interesting and more impactful. So thank you, Los Angeles crowd, for making me care about this match. Well, I have one last note. Oh yeah, let me just say, I should have said this at the beginning. The one thing I hated about this match was the fact that they hot-shotted the match between Rollins and Kane 2 weeks ago on Raw, with the clean finish of Kane going over on Rollins, and B, because of that match, they took Kane out of Raw on the go-home show going into the pay-per-view. Yeah, that's a good way to make everyone look strong, is to take the challenger off TV right before like the big match. I don't know. Obviously, it's not the main event, but come on, like, give me some kind of reason to care, is all I'm saying. Yeah, and also one thing, Rollins winning tonight. I think he's won like 3 matches in a row now. There was the whole thing, you know, it's like the stat I read was that up until last week, he was like 1-19 in his last 20 matches, which is a terrible way to build your champion. People wonder why Rey Mysterio was such a bad champion. The company wonders, oh, why Rey Mysterio didn't go over when he was World Heavyweight Champion. Maybe it's because they don't like jobbers as champions. People don't care when the champion loses to everyone. That's what Seth Rollins is doing. So between Raw, SmackDown, and Hell in a Cell, I do believe I do believe this is the longest win streak he's been on since that slide into obscurity. So good on Rollins for winning. Rollins is the winner, and then also for a match in which the stipulation was that if Kane lost, then Corporate Kane would be fired from his job as director of operations. I found it weird that they didn't spend a whole lot of time on that, and that the Susan G. Komen promo right afterward was like twice as long as the moments right after the bell rang, the final bell rang in the Rollins Kane match. I thought that was a little, not dicey, not sketchy. It was just a little bit of misplaced priorities. Let's put our social awareness and our brand above this supposedly large storyline. I don't know, with the champion. I don't know. That was really super weird. Intercontinental Championship match: Kevin Owens and Ryback. The crowd. I was just talking about how LA made me care about the WWE title match. The crowd, I feel, kind of died in this match, and I think it might be because like they were maybe saving themselves for Undertaker Lesnar. I'm not sure what that was all about, and they were especially did for Ryback. I think Ryback's time as a face, it's like I don't know. I mean, the way he's being presented now as a face is not working. I think he is fine as a face when he's just stomping fools like he was when he first debuted. But compared to Kevin Owens, who did admittedly steal a bit of his heat, I think that the match itself was okay. I mean, not every match is going to be a 5-star classic, and this show is no exception, to that rule. The two worked well against each other. I think their match the month prior, Night of Champions, was a stronger match. So this one was a bit of a downgrade. I thought the finish felt a little sloppy to me because you could tell that Owens was in the ropes and that he did something devious. Like he kicked Ryback to get him out of there, but I felt like it was either a little rushed or a little sloppy, so it kind of took the edge off that finish because you could tell that Owens, like he did at Night of Champions, he's using some devious methods to win the match, and he did it again tonight, but I feel like that message didn't really get across all that well. So, again, I think it was kind of a shoddy finish to an otherwise decent match. Owens retains. So far, the curse of the Intercontinental Championship has not affected him that strongly yet. We'll see what happens in the months to come. We'll see what happens with his future opponents. So moving on to the main event, the match everyone hopefully paid to see. I don't know. It was the Hell in a Cell match, Undertaker and Lesnar. I thought it was interesting in the lead up to this that it's a 13-year rivalry between Undertaker and Lesnar, and it is if you take account to actual history. But at the same time, the package immediately after when Michael Cole said that, it says Chapter 1, WrestleMania 30. I was like, if you're gonna just whitewash and ignore Lesnar's first run in the company when he was feuding with Taker, and they actually did have a Hell in a Cell match, at least be consistent. Don't show us stuff. Don't give us this information about how they've had this long rivalry, but then just totally ignore it when you're promoting it. On Facebook the other day, the WWE Facebook page was showing on this day in 2002, and they showed Lesnar and Undertaker and Hell in a Cell. Like, okay, you're acknowledging in these really weird backhanded ways that the history is there. But at the same time, in the promos, all we want to talk about is as if this just started with the streak ending at WrestleMania 30, and that's not the case at all. I know you have to try and wrap your story up in a bit of a tighter thing to make the story more, more condensed and more easier to follow. I just think that if you're going to mention the long-standing rivalry, the fact that it went back to 2002, at least be consistent with it. That being said, this was easily I think the match of the night. There were a couple little botches here and there, but I think that can be forgiven when you consider that Undertaker is 50 years old. He's not as fast and nimble as he used to be. And Lesnar's kind of a snug, big, beefy bastard. But that being said, I thought it was amazing. Like, we were like 2 minutes into the match, and Lesnar started bleeding. I thought that was amazing. And chairs were being brought in at 3 minutes going into the match. Like, wow, they were really like pulling all the stops out early on. I think that the funny part was Taker's moment in which he got hit with a chair and then gigged. They showed the replay of it happening. You can clearly see he's getting hit in the shoulder with the chair, and then they held on the replay long enough to see him gig so he bled from a chair shot to the shoulder. I thought that was hysterical. And the fact that the replay people showed that angle and showed Taker, I thought that was just too much. I thought that, again, I think these two guys know how to have a good match. They went hell for leather against each other. It was just a super physical match. The blood, I think, really helped add to it. You knew, back in 2002 when they had their first Hell in a Cell match, that it was so brutal then it would be an insult or it would be underwhelming or anticlimactic to have anything less than that in their rematch. So they did it. They brought the violence. They brought the blood. So I thought that was cool. They did that. It's Brock Lesnar is one of those, and the Undertaker as well. They're those kind of guys who it's like, we have these we're special cases. I think we can afford to bleed every now and then. And a match like that, you kind of need it with their history and their rivalry. Reigns and Wyatt, I think, didn't really need it. Didn't need the blood. It would have helped, but if they bled and then Taker and Lesnar bled, it would have taken the excitement or the ooh and ah factor out of Taker and Lesnar bleeding. So good on them for going red, because red means green. Red equals green. That's an old saying I was taught when I was training to wrestle. So again, it was very brutal, fun match. I marked out for the choke slam on the boards when Lesnar tore off the canvas and the mats, and they took the choke slam straight on the boards. Anyone who's never taken a bump in a wrestling ring, let me tell you, if you bump on a wrestling ring just regular when it's all set up, it's no picnic taking a bump on a regular wrestling ring with the mat and the canvas and everything. So imagine what it feels like to take it on straight boards, and right under the boards is like straight steel, all the cross beams and everything. That's what he was bumping on. So kudos to Lesnar. I give him all the thumbs ups and the likes for taking the straight bump, chokeslam bump onto the boards. Good for him, man. Although I thought it was a bit diminished when they did the tombstone right after that, because the camera angle they clearly showed that Lesnar was his head was like 7 or 8 inches away from the mat. Not only that, but even if he did hit the ground, it would have hit the padding and not the boards. So that was one thing I noticed with the tombstone. Again, occasionally, I put my goggles. But again, a very strong match. Great finish. Great storytelling. The way Lesnar won after hitting the low blow, targeting back to the history of SummerSlam when Taker won with the low blow. That's just one of the better ways to end that match. And Lesnar was still convincing. Taker still looked strong. And then Lesnar won, and that's the end of the rivalry. They kept building it up as this is the last match between these two, and it will be. Hopefully, it's the end of that rivalry. But they kept making it almost seem like it was Taker's last match as well, which I think here comes what happened after the match. It was Taker's, it seemed like it was a last hurrah, last stand, and he takes the knee, and then the Wyatts come out and they beat him up. I was really expecting someone to come out and save Undertaker, but that didn't happen. For all the talk that to save him. So so Taker coming out and getting beat up by the Wyatts, and then being carried away. I thought that was very interesting, and I think now that will help us lead into Survivor Series, the 25th anniversary of the Survivor Series, to see what happens with that. And I think it's going to bring a lot of eyeballs to Raw on a show that is desperately needing ratings right now. So we'll get some kind of answer, see what happens with that. I think it's a good show of continuity. It's kind of a good show of, thank you. Let me just pause for a minute. I was asking earlier, where are all the Eddie Guerrero references that Michael was talking about in the New Day? Thank you, Dark Enigma, for pointing that out. I forgot that. Yes, I keep reading that was a classic Eddie spot. I forgot to mention that in their tag team match. But then anyway, back to what I was saying. I think it's good continuity, the fact that because Taker and Wyatt fought at WrestleMania, and that was a pretty underwhelming feud because it was so one-sided because Taker never showed up. But now that Wyatt has come back to get his heat back against The Undertaker, that might lead into a rubber match between the two of them, or a rematch between the two of them at Survivor Series, or maybe it'll be a Survivor Series match with all the Wyatts versus Taker and some other people. That's a match I'd like to see, I think, because he shows Taker he would be in, he'd still be able to work, but he wouldn't have to carry the whole thing. So those were my immediate thoughts after seeing that very interesting ending. So here we are. It's only been a half hour, and the show's only my post-show reviews already almost done. So there you go. That's what happens when it's just one person doing it this time. So overall, I would have to give this pay-per-view a B+ grade. That's the grade I'm going to give it. Let me know what your grades are, your numerical or your letter grades, however metric you want to work this, in the chat section over there. Let me know how you liked it, because I think it was a very strong pay-per-view. When you consider what Night of Champions was and how much better it could have been, I think that this show was a couple of steps above that in a lot of ways. The pre-show, like I said, I think I didn't care for it because it was such a regurgitation from last week. I thought it was kind of silly they did that. I didn't really care about that, but I think everything else, all the other matches, I thought were better than advertised. I think they delivered, so I would have to say a B+, and especially just because of the Taker Lesnar match. I think that really they brought the heat in that one. I thought that was a really fun match. The surprise of Del Rio coming out to open the show and going over on Cena. I mean, that's a great pop worthy. It's a great it's a great memorable moment for the pay-per-view. One thing I thought was interesting was, and someone asked me to bring it up, the fact that Ambrose was not booked on the show. He originally was booked in the pre-show when it was going to be, I think it was going to be him and Orton versus the Wyatt family, but then Orton got hurt. So then, Ambrose was kind of left not really with anything to do. I thought that was very disappointing, considering last year, Hell in a Cell, he and Seth Rollins main evented, and they stole the show. They brought the house down with their match. And now for Ambrose to not get booked at all, I thought that was very disappointing. I thought that, my first guess as to who was going to answer the open challenge to Cena was going to be Ambrose, because he didn't have that match now. But ultimately, I think the fact they went with Alberto Del Rio was a good choice as well. I think Ambrose, if they were going to give him this time, if Cena was going to be gone, I think Ambrose is the guy to push, because right now he's the one who's selling all the merch. They keep giving him all this new merchandise, and he's apparently selling it, so good on him. And since that is the way they seem to judge who they're going to push, it would have made sense to put Ambrose on that pedestal. So it's disappointing that he was left without a match on the card. It's disappointing that maybe he wasn't the one to go over on Cena for the title. So in that respect, I think it's the opportunity cost. They gave Alberto Del Rio the title, which created a big surprise pop, but at the same time, Dean Ambrose is kind of left in the wind right now. So we'll have to see what happens with him. So again, I have to say I would give this a B+, an 8 out of 10 for this show. And I know these are slightly inflated, I guess. It's because I think, again, I don't watch the Raws. I don't watch the SmackDowns. I watch stuff on YouTube and I read the results. So I'm just going off of what the pay-per-views are showing me in terms of match quality and what moments they're giving me. And right now, I'm really impressed with what they're doing, just in terms of pay-per-view. I mean, obviously, Raw needs a ton of work. I'm not going to forgive them for that. I just think they need to really step it up. They need to take the focus away off the legends. They need to focus on the new stuff, the future stuff. That's the way they got to build their product. That's the way they got to get people interested. They can't have these, here and gone pops and here and gone ratings bumps with these legends. I think they've totally beat the legend pop to death with guys like Flair and Michaels and Austin and that sort of thing. So I think they really need to focus more on focusing on the future. Obviously, I think that's my two cents on it. But again, pay-per-views straight from that. To answer your question, Ethan, why I don't watch the Raws, because I don't have cable. That's the biggest thing. So I just basically I read the results. That's kind of how I do it. And yeah, cord cutting is a great way to save money, people. I'll tell you that right now. And you also don't have to pull your hair out over the inane booking choices of Raw every week. But that's my review for Hell in a Cell. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much for sticking around with it. As you can see here in this subtle advertising here, Season 5, the full-length reviews of Wrestling with Regret return on Thursday, November 5th on YouTube. I think you're really going to like this season. It's going to have some great topics I'm going to be talking about. So I advise you guys to check that stuff out. And I know you guys have been asking me, when's the new stuff going to come out? When's the new stuff? Because, I mean, a lot of you guys subscribed for the new stuff. You didn't subscribe for my cooking shows. I'll tell you that right now. You came because of my long-form reviews. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for your patience as I kind of kill time, admittedly, with these smaller, shorter videos of the cooking shows and getting into the biz and the sketches I'm doing. So thank you for your patience on that. I'm just trying to keep busy and trying to keep content flowing on this channel in the build-up to Season 5. But Season 5 is coming out Thursday, November 5th. I hope you guys will be here for that. Also, you can buy the t-shirt by emailing me at wrestlingwithregret@gmail.com. But I do want to say there will be an announcement coming up, I'd say in the next week or two, about merchandise, the future of Wrestling with Regret merchandise that I can't really talk about right now, but there will be a new development in Wrestling with Regret merchandise. I hope you guys hold on to your hats for that one. Keep your pants on. And I'm talking about you, Paul Dempsey. So, again, what else can I plug? Let's see here. Season 5 starting November 5th. Buy the t-shirt, but wait for more merchandise news to be coming out. Check me out at Z-Man Brian Zane. It's my Twitter handle. Go to the Facebook page. It's facebook.com/wrestlingwithregret. And again, thank you guys so much for watching this. Thanks for letting me know your thoughts in the comments section as we go on here. I will say this week, we got a lot of cool videos stacked up. There's going to be a WWE 2K16 review. Tuesday night is when it's expected to drop. I'm going to pick it up. I got it on pre-order, so I'm going to be reviewing that game and putting my thoughts on it out Tuesday night. So you can look forward to that. Thursday, there's going to be a brand new special edition of Getting Into the Biz. I won't give away the subject yet, but it's for people it's been a frequent question I've been getting in the comments section of the previous 3 episodes of Getting Into the Biz, and I hope you guys appreciate it. I think it's something anyone who wants to get into the business can enjoy, can appreciate. So there's that. What else am I missing? So there's 2K16, Getting Into the Biz, and I think I'm going to kind of cool my jets on that one because that's going to help the build into. There's going to be one more Kayfabe Kitchen the week of the season opener on the 5th. That'll be the Tuesday before. But those are the 3 videos I have for sure locked in for videos, for content leading into the season premiere. So again, thank you guys so much. Forgive my rambling. Thanks guys so much for sticking around and giving me your thoughts on the show. I'll see you next month. The next live streaming event is going to be Survivor Series. Hopefully I won't be doing it all by myself and repeating myself and saying ums and ers all the time to no one else in the room. So again, be sure to thumbs up this video, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you guys next time.